Hi guys, this is going to be a basic tutorial on the color separations for screen printers using Adobe Photoshop. This is not limited to CS6. This could be pretty much this is a basic tutorial, and it will work on. It's not like relying on any new features in CS6 or higher. It's just old school method, and it'll work using pretty much any version of Photoshop you may have. So without further ado, let's see what we have here. Got a bunch of graphics. Oh, right, we're already in that folder. So, see a whole bunch of graphics here because we are a shop that's constantly doing a lot of production. But here we go. I have prepared this one because this is very basic. And this was the actual artwork that a customer sent us for a back of a T-shirt, and I had to do the color separation on. So basically, the one requirement is that you really want to pay attention to when people send you artwork is that the resolution is high enough, because a lot of times people, especially if they haven't done T-shirts in the past, they'll send you something that's 72 dpi or dots per inch, pixels per inch, and that's really not big enough, because once you zoom in on it, you'll see these edges will start, they'll be jagged or they'll be blurry, and you can't really get a good stencil or screen out of images like that. So what you want to do is when you receive your artwork um, from your customer, you want to double check right away. How you do that is you go to image size, and you want to check the resolution. It should be 300 or higher. 300 is fine. It's actually pretty much perfect. But if it's higher, that's fine. If it's lower, 200 you could probably get away with, depending on the image, depending on what it is. Any lower than that, I wouldn't mess with. And the dimensions are kind of close. Like for example, if this image is to print at 5.66 inches, and it was 300 dpi, that's cool. But if it was 300 ppi, dpi, I always get those two terms interchangeable. Um, if, for example, it is 300, but the image is 1 inch, then that might not be big enough. But they want it to print at 5 inches. They may not be big enough, because if it's 1 inches wide by, say, like 2 inches across, 2 inches high, and it's 300, and they would say, okay, make it 5 inches. When you scale it up, that you might start seeing some little artifacts, some little jagged edges and whatnot, because that 300 pixels per inch becomes a lower resolution once you drag it up, because each pixel, you're basically enlarging each pixel. So, but if somebody sends it at this, at roughly, um, you know, the size that they want to print it at 300, a resolution of 300, that's fine. You should be, that's plenty of wiggle room. So, first thing we're going to do here, so the black here is not part of the print. The black here is just a background for demo purposes. So we're going to get rid of that. So how we do that is we're going to select our magic wand tool, and we're going to control click on the Mac, or right click on the PC, and we're going to press color range, and we're going to click on the area that we want to select. In this case, this is the black. Now this sensitivity slider here, well, if there's a bunch of different shades of, say, if there's black and dark gray and a lighter gray and an even lighter gray, this is where this will select more or less of the color that you want selected. So it gives you an idea, or it gives you an option of how much you actually want to select. But here we're only dealing with solid colors, also known as spot colors in screen printing. So it doesn't really matter. So, but we'll put this up to 200 just to make sure it selects all the black. Press OK, and you get these marching ants, what they're referred to as. So, and this is basically telling you the area that's selected. So we're gonna just hit delete on your keyboard. Boom, and that's gonna get rid of everything that you don't need. And then you're gonna, on a Mac, you're gonna press Command D to deselect, or you're gonna go to, let's see, select, deselect. So now what you're left with is just your image, right? So sometimes it's good to, I put a layer behind it so I could see what's going on, because the white, it's hard to see the white sometimes, or other little colors like that behind, with this checkered background. So I will just create another layer. I'll put it behind my graphic, and I will color it black. What I do is I press on the Mac Command Delete, and it colored it white for some reason. But okay, we'll just color this black. Or you could paint. I think you could take the paint bucket tool, which is here. Or where is it? Where's my paint bucket? I have not used this in years. So, what you gotta find your paint bucket tool, or you could even draw a black box around it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, yes, you could see your artwork. So you go back to that layer, you go back to your magic wand tool, and the purpose of a color separation is, as you probably have some faint idea, is that each color is going to go on its own screen. So you want to separate them, put them on separate layers, and then make them black, print them out in your film, and then burn each one on the screen. So how we accomplish that is this in Photoshop. This is the basic way. Again, there will be pros and snobs out there, or not snobs, let's call them perfectionists or purists that will dispute that this method is not precise. Or, but you know what? I've run a successful shop in New York City for, at this point, like 6 years, and this is the method I use, and I have never had a problem. And in fact, if you compare one of my prints to a print done on an automatic press, in like a at a professional quote unquote big shop, you won't see a difference. So this does work, despite the fact that you're dealing with raster graphics as opposed to vector art, which I could get into in another video. I could explain the difference between those two, but it's beyond the scope of this video. Here we're just dealing with the basic color separation. So okay, so we got our magic wand tool. So now again we're going to press Control click or right click on the PC, or if you have a 2-button mouse. We're going to press color range, and again we're going to select the color that we want isolated. And this time will be either the orange or the white, because this is a 2-color image, so it doesn't matter as long as now you see here some little artifacts are showing up. I don't know if you could tell. So it's selecting the white, but it's also selecting some of the orange for whatever reason. So this is where the sensitivity slider could come in handy, and we could just slide that down a little bit until it just selects the part that we want, which is the white. So we'll press OK. So here we go. If we zoom in on this now, you can see it selected all of our white. So it wasn't 100% precise, it looks like, but that's fine for this kind of image. If you wanted it to be more precise, then you could go back and do the same method again and just select more, or you could just go select, modify, expand by 1 pixel, boom, and now it's selected more. But we're not going to do that. So this is fine for me for this image. So now what I would do is I would go to Edit, to the Edit menu, and I would go I would go to Select, and I would go to layer. Oh, is it the layer? Oh, it's New Layer. So under the Layer menu, I'm sorry guys, because I usually use the key command for this, so I don't even go to the menus. Well, I'll go to Layer, New Layer via Cut. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna cut the selection out of the layer and put it into a new layer. See, it left a little bit of artifacts because my selection wasn't very precise, but that's okay. We don't actually need this. This is like if you actually just turn that off and just you can see that it selected everything just fine. So in some cases this will matter, this little bit of stuff, but and then you could like go in deeper and be more precise with your selection. But for this demo, we don't need to worry about that. So, and in fact, when we do the final separation, we'll just delete that stuff. So we'll take the marquee and we'll drag around it. Make sure we're on this layer here. Yep. And we're just gonna hit delete. Boom. So, and then we're gonna deselect. So now, effectively, that's your color separation. You have your orange on one layer. We'll call this layer orange, which is it's self-explanatory now. But when you're dealing with 6 plus colors, and some of them are dark red, and some of them are lighter red, and some of them are medium red, and some of them are, or like sometimes you might have a light gray, a medium gray, a dark gray, and a black. Then it's not as obvious. So you want to always label your layers. So, and this layer is white, right? So boom. So now, if you were printing, say, on a gray shirt, or if this was instead of white, if this was black, and it was printing on a white background, then you'd be pretty much done. I mean, you might want to create registration marks on both screens, which I'll show you how to do, so that when you line it back up on press, you know how it lines up. Effectively, your color separation is done. And then what you would do here is you would double click the layer, which would open this layer style dialog, and you add a color overlay and you make it black. And this is like, so, and you see how sometimes when you work with certain graphics, the opacity is not there. So the fact that you could see these the checkered background through it means that it's not 100% opaque. So what you want to do is you could select it by going by command on a Mac, command clicking into this in here, and just hitting command delete on a Mac. On a PC, I'm not quite sure how you would do that, but let me see. Let me go back here and see if I could do it just using the let's see here, just using menu select. Let's see here. I guess you could just fill it with let's see, where's our tools? You guys making me use tools I don't use. Let's see. Paint bucket, there it is. So now, and we're gonna hit anywhere inside the selection, and it's gonna fill in our selection. So that's that. And then let's take a look at our. So that's our orange, right? So that's done, right? And now this is our white. So we could double click the white, put a color overlay on it of black again because. And where's then there it is. This one happens to be 100% opaque, so we don't need to fill it in anymore. So basically this is our color separation, and I happen to have this template that I created with registration marks on it, so I could just take the registration marks out of that and I drag them into here. Let's see, let's make our canvas size the size of our film, which my film's a 13 by 19. Boom. So, and there's my film, so I'm going to make sure this is in the middle. So how I do that is I drag out a guide and I place it in the middle. So right now I'm just kind of eyeballing it, but you could be more precise if you want to. This really depends on the image. So let's just say that's our middle, and look at that, the registration mark landed right in the middle. So I'm going to move this up to here, and I'll explain the purpose of the registration marks after. And I'm gonna hold option and drag, which will create a copy of it. So now I have these are my two registration marks. I'm gonna merge these two layers together by holding shift and clicking on both of them, and I'm gonna right click or control click and press merge layers. So now these are my registration marks. So now I'm gonna make a copy of the layer by holding shift or alt on the PC and drag it, and I'm going to add these registration marks to both layers in the exact same spot. So what I'm going to do again is hold shift and click on both layers and merge layers, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the white, and I'm going to merge these layers. So now, and you could check too, so now you have your white, right, and you have your orange. And so the registration, and the purpose of this is when you actually burn this screen, right, and you burn this screen, when you set them up on the press, when you do a test print, you would print it with these registration marks, and then all you have to do when you line up your second screen is you line up the registration marks, and the graphic will line up automatically because the registration marks are in the same exact spot on both. So that's your basic separation for the like a light color shirt. But since we're printing on a black shirt, let's see here. This was orange originally, right? So, excuse me. And this was white. We're going to create white on the base under the orange. So basically what we're going to do is we would take everything in the orange layer. Where's the orange layer? So here's the orange layer. So see, I should have done this before, but I didn't. So now I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna just separate this from the registration marks. So here's my orange. So what I want to do is, again, command and I'm guessing it would be control or maybe the Windows key on a PC. Click into this thumbnail, which is gonna select everything in that layer, which is just my orange, right? And now, so with a white on the base, you wanna this is a trick that they use that I was taught, and it works pretty well. Is you want to choke what's called choke the underbase by about I do it by 1 pixel, which means that the white that you will print white. So the white will be this, and also this information that prints, it will print under the orange, so that you could only hit the orange once and get a real nice opaque orange print. But a lot of times presses are not 100% accurate with their registration. So to make it a little easier to line up, what you would do with the white underbase, let's just close this. We're going to turn this layer off, so now we just have the selection. So um, what you would do is you would what's called choke it, and which means you would make the white print actually a 1 pixel smaller all around than the orange, so that the orange actually kind of surrounds it. So how we do that is when we have our selection, we're going to go to select, modify, contract by 1 pixel. You could do it by more. You could experiment, but this works for me. I have a fairly professional press, and this works really well. So we're going to press OK. So now, if you zoom in close, you'll see that the selection is actually a pixel smaller, because if you turn the orange on, you'll see that the orange actually surrounds the selection. So if the selected area is going to be all white and the orange prints over it, you see that it actually covers it, which is what we want. So now we're going to go to our white layer. Let's zoom back out. This is our white layer. Where's our white layer? This is our white layer. Okay, we're going to go back to our white layer, and we're going to paste this information into the white layer by going, again, I would do Command Delete, or is it Option Delete? It's Option Delete. So I would do Option Delete and I'm guessing that would be Alt Delete on a PC, but you could also use the Paint Bucket tool if you're more comfortable with that, and just hit that inside the selection. Boom. And then deselect by going select. I press Command D, but you could also do you could also go on the select menu and just hit this deselect button here, which is blanked out because there's nothing selected. So now, and so basically, so now this is your white print, and the orange prints over the white. So we're gonna put this layer here for preview purposes, so you could see. So this is exactly how it would print. If the black being your t-shirt or your garment, could be a tote bag or whatever, hoodie, but let's just say this is you would print the white, and you would probably print the white twice, to get a nice opaque, or at least you would print this area twice, and then you print the orange over the white, and if you could see, it actually covers it completely. So there we go. And that's basically a separation. So make sure you got your registration marks set. See, I had to separate it because I kind of did it the sequence wrong. But okay, these are my registration marks for the orange screen. Right here they are. So I'll just merge them back with the screen by holding Shift and selecting both layers. Just to double check, that's my orange. Yes, it is. Control or right click, merge layers. And now I have my orange and I have my white. And this is kind of like a live preview of what it would look like. Sometimes you want to do that just to make sure that everything is separated correctly. You could also, what you can do is you could actually say, if you have a bunch of colors and you want to label them, or for example, you have, say you're doing a color separation, somebody else is going to be setting it up and printing it, you could label each screen. Like, let's see, let's initialize our type tool. This always takes forever. Alright, that was actually fairly quickly. So this is our orange, so we'll just put orange. This could be a Pantone color if you're using Pantones or whatever. So that's our orange, and we're gonna actually merge that text layer with our orange layer, so that prints on the film as well. So boom, this is our orange film, and this is our white. So here we'll put white. Okay. Oops, sorry. And we're going to merge those two. And now again, we're going to go back. So we don't need this anymore. This was just this layer was just for for sort of visual reference. So let's zoom out. So now we just have our white, and we're going to double click the layer and color overlay, put a black color over it. And so that's one. And then we got our orange. And we're going to do the same thing. Double click the layer, put a black overlay over it. Also, you know, if you don't want to do this, if you think this is amateur, you could just put 0000000, which is like the color code for black in RGB mode, which I believe we're in RGB mode. No, we're in CMYK. So CMYK, which you don't really need to know these things. Or well, CMYK is for printing and RGB is for computer screens. That's all you really need to know about that. And there you go. So I have and then now, so I use 13 by 19 film, so I could actually fit both of these screens on one film when I print it out. So that's my orange and this is my white. So I drag these out like that, and boom, I have my. Now I go Command P or File Print, which opens up my dialog box. I select my paper type, which is a 13 by 19. Let's see here. There it is, A3, 13 by 19 borderless. I press save. Boom, and there you go. There you have it. That's my there's my film ready to. And then, you know, when this film comes out, I would cut it in half, and that's one screen, two screens. Boom, and I hit print, and we're good to go. Thank you. Any questions, comments, please post. Thank you.